Excellent. All right. Welcome. It is Thursday, November 21st, 2024. I would like to call this business meeting of the Clear Creek Board of Education to order. It is 5:00 p.m.
Flanagan. Here. Haig. Here. King. Here. McHugh. Norm.
Here.
I'd like to move to approve the agenda.
I'll second. Flanagan.
Yes.
Haig. Yes. King.
Yes.
Norm.
Yes. All right, Board of Education updates.
Okay, a couple of updates that I'd like to share first. I was very happy to go to the play, not only because I was very excited to watch my daughter have her big debut, but all of the students, and it was wonderful. And so just tons of congratulations all the way around. I thought it was great. And it was like every night there were more people in the audience than the night before, which has got to feel really great all the way around. So just kudos to the whole team for that work. And what a cool way to start a theater production for those middle school kids that were in that. What a cool foundation. And then to switch to an update quickly about the Clear Creek Schools Foundation. As you know, I represent the board on that board. I hope that you've all seen the list of grants that have been awarded, a little over $42,000, ranging in amount from as low or little as $200 to up as high as $8,000. Every building in our district is represented, every grade level is represented. Really excited to see that work. I hope that you've all seen the annual report that has also gone out. And then I think on a both happy, sad note, we're really pleased to accept a $20,000 gift from Shift Events in Evergreen in honor of Sean Wood. That was then matched to provide $40,000 worth of scholarship funding or other types of funding through the foundation. We did a presentation, a big check presentation with Ben Shea in the Rec Tech room. Really excited to kind of watch how that goes. It was in the Current if you haven't seen it, and just really happy to represent our board and the foundation and our gratitude for that contribution. They've made a lot of contributions in this area, but when we ask why, this is where they love to live or love to play, this is where they work, this is where they live, a really great nexus of all of the things that we were doing. So thank you to Mitch and Sharon Wood for their time and effort and energy coming and participating in that event. And I'll leave it there. Thank you.
All right, so the crisis response team met again, work group met again last month to kind of finalize the workbooks. Thank you so much to Sunny for all of her work to help to finalize those. We feel like we're in a place really to be able to implement the workbooks, and Tom and I will be presenting to the board in December to kind of go through what those look like. Also, a thank you to the board for the thoughtful discussion that we had on memorialization guidelines at our study session this month. One other update, in case people haven't heard, Annie Cooley, who is the Executive Director of Resilience 1220, is going to be stepping down from her position. She is going to stay at home with her kiddos. She realizes what she's missing and wants to take the time while her kiddos are young to be able to be with them. So we, as the board for Resilience 1220, are in the process of interviewing for her replacement, and we actually have some really fantastic applicants who are very, very excited about. So I really do believe that we will continue to be able to bring the same care and attention to the youth here in Clear Creek that we have.
I don't have anything this week. this month, I was, DAC and our meeting intertwined last week, and then I wasn't able to attend the quarterly CPP for the mine, but Tom did, so I'll let him update on that.
And I'm sorry, I even wrote notes down and then didn't read them right. I did have one other update. The Clear Creek Economic Development Corporation has been working on a resiliency plan. I think most of you have maybe seen that plan. The jurisdictions in Gilpin County and in Clear Creek County are being asked to provide resolution of support around building a resilience team to look at, just ongoing economic resilience and sustainability in our communities, and just wanted to put that on the radar. It is my longstanding belief that a good economy and a good school go hand in hand, and that you really need both if you actually are going to have both. So just something to put on the radar as we're all kind of watching and seeing as our jurisdictions pass those resolutions and assign people to be on a resilience team to really look at these different components. And I wrote it down and then forgot to read it. So thanks.
Thank you. So this month I attended a roundtable discussion about affordable childcare. It was up in Boulder, so I got to meet House Minority Whip Catherine Clark. I saw Joe Goose, Brittany Pedersen also joined us. I have some links that I've shared with Tom to share out, just in case anyone would like to follow that affordable childcare agenda. They've got a website that's been propped up, and you can show your support for that there. Just some amazing community events this month, Pumpkin Smash, theater, just it's so much fun to plug in and see our families. So, and then on the 18th, I attended the Mountain Youth Network Coalition meeting, where they worked on setting their kind of community priorities. And it's really, their focus is always on students, but also kind of picking up how can they help us as a district support our educators, because they recognize that keeping our educators here for their careers supports our students. So I was very happy to hear that they would like to kind of pour a little bit more energy and focus into that over this next 6 months. So that.
And I have some things that aren't on there, and a couple of those things were already mentioned. The resolution of the Economic Development Committee, that'll be in this week's board notes for you to look at. We'll throw it on the agenda for December to discuss for the study session. And then the other one was notes here. You guys see things, the roofing, we've talked about that in the past. Best grant will coming up, we'll actually start filling out the grant here in December, hopefully. And the next one, long-range facilities planning, kind of goes along with what Rachel and Mike may talk to some about. Hold off on talking more about that. Clear Creek Schools Foundation, there was that document, so you took that away from me too.
Sorry about that.
Enrollment numbers. There's some things in your board notes, and I'll share. We'll talk more about those in the future. Some breakdowns of our students and where they're going that way. Roughly, we have about 200 students who go elsewhere that way, and about, I can't remember that, I have it on my computer here. Should just get this open. And we have, I guess my point with this is that I want some information about our enrollment and where kids are going. That's been a question that has been brought up multiple times. And I think it's important to recognize that. We have 195 students who leave our district to go somewhere else. We have 32 that come in. This is just this year. So we're negative 163. And that is larger than most districts around us. Not all, but most. 136 of those go to Jeffco. So just kind of, so I'm working with the CDE right now to get some information. They can't give addresses, things like that, but just I want to know the grade levels for leaving and stuff like that. So I'll be sharing that information in board notes, and we'll probably have a future conversation, but I just wanted to share that with you. Those are the big things here. We added a second section to second grade with Siri Lewis on there. And then we'll be adding some halftime special ed here in the middle school, high school, based on enrollment numbers. those are some basics. So,
Welcome, Carrie Ann. If you could note that she was able to join us, thank you. Carrie Ann, we were just giving updates. Do you have anything you'd like to share?
I suspect that most of it was covered. I'll let you guys keep rolling.
Thank you. So we've got lots of folks giving us reports this evening, so I'd like to invite our Jacobs team. So we only have one chair.
Grab a chair.
Oh, okay.
Every more support.
Yeah, it's nice being back.
Well, good evening. It's nice to see you all again and see the student body tonight as well. Most of you know me. For those who don't, I'm Rachel Rubenstein with Jacobs. And today I'm here to present an overall 2021 bond program wrap-up. Oh, thank you. I think I just have to press this one, right?
The arrow to the right.
Ah, got it. Thank you. All right. Ta-da. Okay. So I want to kind of remind you of the mission statement that was created 3 years ago at the very beginning. And we're going to take a stroll back through memory lane over the course of the last 3 years and all that was accomplished under the 2021 bond. So the mission statement reads, as a visionary school district, we re-energize our facilities to inspire creative, healthy, and safe learning environments with the engagement of our community. And I hope that as we continue to go through this, you have vigorous head nods that mission has indeed been met. So back in November 2021, on the ballot, voters passed a bond in the amount of $33 million. 3 years later, November 2024 is where we stand now, and we are wrapping up some loose ends and closing out the bond program as a whole. Okay. So let's talk through this a little bit. What did we do? Where did we start? There's a lot more than just doing construction. And so back in the day, early on, when we started, the Board of Education said, we want a program and project manager to really support the process from cradle to grave. So of course, Jacobs was hired to manage the program holistically. And so a couple other points that came from the board at that time was to provide transparency to the community, to communicate, have open communication, and develop processes and procedures. Additionally, we created competition through bidding practices. And we also created a lot of organization. A system was recently developed when we had come on board, and we helped make that more robust through file structures and things like that to really retain the information. And there's a lot of it through the course of the last 3 years on the bond. So we started off with a master schedule, developing a master schedule with different bid packages, what made sense for the district for what projects to be done when. There was a rush early on. The Georgetown roof was leaking. We needed to address that right away. That was a critical hot project. Pre-K was in dire need to expand and have 2 classes of pre-K, and we were able to jump on those and then also plan properly for some of the larger projects like the new Carlson Elementary School. As part of the transparency, we also spent time developing a financial report that is public. It's on the website. It's posted every quarter with the updates in addition to the schedule updates as well. And so that is, you can see from the beginning of time, every quarter that posted on the Clear Creek Constructs website. We also developed processes and procedures for everything that we needed. So in qualifying and bidding for consultants, contractors, vendors, we had a selection team that reviewed proposals to really get the most qualified folks on board to complete these projects. Everything from contract award to other financial commitments, purchase orders, change orders, moving money around, budget transfers, and how to, what the right process is, who needs to be involved in that, pay applications. We have some big ones, multi-million-dollar pay applications sometimes that come across the desk with as much construction work that we were doing out there at certain times. And of course, reconciling our books with the district books. We kept our books, the district kept our books, and we had a monthly process where we literally matched to the penny, every single penny. Design reviews, we went through multiple milestones, 3 milestones on each project of design and financial checks until we actually made sure we had the right project and could move into construction. And of course, everything in the field, punch lists. There were no contracts or forms developed in the beginning. So we created consistency by having templates. Some things you had not quite done before. And, now we had to have line items for retainage and whatnot. Another thing that was developed were district standards. And district standards really promote a consistency throughout the district on materials and products and workmanship. And so that was a great time to do it in advance of all the construction so that, we can make sure we do have things that make sense for the district overall at a holistic, at a wholesale scale. And we developed teams, the cat and the dog. The cat is the Citizens Accountability Team that met monthly, and we reviewed the monthly financials, the monthly schedule updates, the project updates, and kind of knew what was going on with the bond overall. And then, of course, there was the dogs, and the dogs were the site-based group. So we had a dog for King Murphy, and a dog here for the middle school, high school, and a dog for, the name has changed, but the new Carlson. Communications was also a really, really big one. And so there were events, different outreach. Obviously, there's the Clear Creek Constructs website, postings on social media. But some of the groups that we reached out to, and connected with, whether it was us setting up a booth or providing a handout or giving a tour or giving a presentation, we connected with the CCHS Alumni Association, with the Rotary Club, with the GCIS Half Marathon, on back to school nights at the different schools. We did a town hall during the master planning phase, the family orientation nights, winter spring concerts. We had multiple ribbon cutting events between King Murphy and the new Carlson. Different levels of student engagement. We were part of the curriculum during first grade tool time. We gave the kids tours. There were multiple tours for multiple entities throughout the course of time. And as you know, as you're well aware of, there was a lot of turnover through the course of the last 3 years. Having these processes in place was amazing because it wasn't about the person, it was about the role. And it was established. And that was able to keep us churning and keep us efficient through the course of change. So I spoke a lot. That was a big slide, but there's a lot to talk about there. So I figured, I was like, well, should we talk about what we did or should we talk about the money first? So I decided, let's just dive right in, talk about the money first, and then we're going to talk about what we did. So originally in the ballot, 33 million was approved. When the bonds were sold in early 2022, there was an additional premium of just over 7 million, which was made. So now we're up to $40 million. And then we've also been accruing interest, and to date, the allowable spend on that interest has been just shy of $400,000. However, interest continues to accrue. It is a dynamic thing, and it is something that we watch right on a regular basis. So ultimately, at the end of the day, we had $40.4 million to spend to complete the work that I'm about to lay out for you. Additionally, grants were applied for in the sum of $716,000. So that work was managed simultaneously. So that did not come out of the bond, but it was part of the scope of the bond, if you will. So here's the breakdown, the costs to date, and also the grant costs to date. And where we spent, you could see at King Murphy, we're just shy of 1.7 million. Georgetown, 1.2, over 1.2. Clear Creek, just shy of $1 million. The new Carlson Elementary School, 32.2 million. And at a district-wide level, about 1.6. And you can see the grants. I'm going to actually break down the grants a little bit further as well. So far, we've spent $37.7 million in the last 3 years, which means we still have a little bit of money, but all our big projects are done. So that's amazing because now we can do more. And we have $1.75 million currently holding in reserves. And we have some plans for that, which we're going to talk about here as well. So grants, let's talk about that. We did receive, so you're going to see Building 103 a little bit peppered in here. So let me just talk about the name change real quick. The building that is currently Carlson, the new Carlson Elementary School, was previously referred to as Building 103. But if you go back further than that, most of the community knows it as the former middle school. And if you go back further than that, the other part of the community knows it as the former high school, right? So it's gone by many names. Today, it's Carlson Elementary School. So that building received a brownfield grant from the state of nearly $400,000. We spent like just under $3.5 million for environmental remediation of that building, including asbestos removal, mercury removal, and it was a big, big part of the project. And that $400,000 helped us so much from the state. There were 2 grants from Homeland Security. One was a school safety grant for King Murphy in the amount of $54,000, and one was for the high school, middle school, high school in the amount of $61,000. Georgetown also got quite a few grants, a couple BEST grants, and including one for the roof, which was a big one for just over $165,000. And they had fundraised because they really wanted a kitchen back in the early planning stages before the bond. And that also contributed toward the project out there. And recently, after a lot of follow-up, a salad bar came through and also is now part of their kitchen. Okay, so we're gonna talk about the projects. In tonight's presentation, I don't have all the pictures that I've shown you before. So I highly encourage you to go onto the website. There's professional photos now, some final photos of some of the finished products. It looks great on there. But today I want to talk through the scope. So in the top wording in the black that's italicized, that is the ballot language. So that's what voters approved on the ballot. The chart is basically exactly duplicate of what it says above. And it shows you when those items were complete with little check marks showing the completion. So we talked about a pre-K expansion early on, and that doubled the size of pre-K out at King Murphy. What was great about that is we did spend a little bit more initially, but really landed it in the right location. It's a great access point for parent drop-off. Pre-K has their own little area, their own little wing of King Murphy, and it's fantastic in there. So that was completed back in December 2022. Security improvements included new exterior hardware, as well as access control, and now creating a secure vestibule as well out at King Murphy. Gym flooring was completed, but not just gym flooring, also lots of interior improvements throughout the gymnasium. Some of you that might remember the old kind of racing stripes can hopefully kick that out of your minds pretty quick because it was horrid and it looks great in there now. That gymnasium floor was it was a big deal because it was an old mercury floor. So that required remediation. It wasn't just a straight demo situation. Interior flooring we did throughout King Murphy, and really, it looks phenomenal in there. It was in such bad shape, some of that carpet, that it was creating tripping hazards. So we were able to now create a safe environment as well. And exterior, we did quite a few things outside. We redid the drop-off and pickup area for parents and buses with new sidewalk and curb. We painted the full exterior of that building, and now it's pine tree colors. There were some rotted cedar planks on the exterior of that building that we were able to fix up, and of course take down broken down fencing, put up new boulders, and really do a lot out there at King Murphy. And as you can see, the bulk of that work was done in what we call phase 2, which was completed August 23. So then we pop over to Georgetown, and we can take a look at that scope again that the voters approved. Exterior and pavement repairs. The walkway between the two buildings at Georgetown was so degraded that the handrail was falling out. So we really have a new walkway, new handrails, replaced a portion of that parking lot, and it really helps drain the water. It was significantly better than what it was prior. We talked about early on, and you can see the date, August 22, the summer before, we got that new roof on. So Georgetown has some new roofing and is no longer leaking as it was when we walked in the door. Some floor carpets were replaced, especially at the walk-off areas where kids are coming in and out of the playgrounds and the main entry areas. And the kitchen was a huge deal. So when we entered Every parent was packing their child lunch for the day from home. And we were able to create a kitchen that provided hot food to children and also create a storage area for freezer storage, cooler storage, dry food storage, and update the cafeteria a little bit as well because we had a route through it. So it's a new ceiling. A lot of abatement also happened through that as we worked our way through the construction process. And last I heard, it was a very high percentage of students that are buying hot food from the Georgetown kitchen. So most of that work was done summer of '23 and the roof was summer of '22. Okay, so then I think I'm gonna click and it, whoop, just like that, thank you. And we have the middle and high school here where we also were active, especially that summer of 2023. That was a hectic summer because the district had a little bit of a shorter summer schedule through some calendar changes. And so we were planned and ready and jumped right on it. We had those security upgrades similar to King Murphy, where we replaced exterior door hardware, as well as created a brand new access control system for the building. The gym floor was in pretty dire need of some work. So we refinished it completely and freshened it up with new striping and new paint. And really were able to light up the field outside, which was fantastic. It created a whole new environment for the high school, now being able to do evening games, which it couldn't do previously. And that was great. So building 103, also the new Carlson Elementary School. I think I put a few of those names up there. So it was a major renovation is really what it said. And I would say we majorly renovated. As you looked at the numbers, just a few minutes ago, we said that we spent about over $32 million to date on that major renovation. Now that did include asbestos abatement. That gym also had a mercury floor that we needed to remediate, and it's a very large one. We completed all the roofing out there at all over that building. It wasn't originally planned to do all of it, but we were able to get through all of that as well. And for those who haven't been there, I highly encourage you to pop on out there and take a look at that building, which really feels new, even though it's really from the 60s. It's great. I'm really happy to see the middle school, I believe, middle school basketball is playing out of the gym these evenings now. So it's great to see that settling in throughout the district of that building. There is room to grow within there as well. There's a lot of flex spaces being used for different programming. There's a district office now that's consolidated out of that building where HR and finance and the superintendent can sit together and really collaborate as a whole. Also, in the ballot language, there's language at a district-wide level. And that says also construct, improve, expand, furnish, repair, and equip district buildings, facilities, and grounds. So we talked about that $1.7 million $1.75 million. Well, that is now going to new roofs here at the middle school, high school, as well as at King Murphy, and also to replacing a boiler out there at King Murphy. And those two roof projects are planned for this coming summer, 2025. They are currently under investigation and starting design, and we will get those bid and ready to go for summer. And that should really spend down the final bucks of the bond dollars and be able to kind of wrap it all up and tie it in a bow. But we're not done yet. There was one more project that we were charged with by the district, and that was the TMF, Transportation and Maintenance Facility. The district had sold their previous property down by the old Gold Digger Stadium and needed a place to house their new buses and a new facility for both transportation and for maintenance. So December 2020 was the date that the district and 4 Points signed the agreement to sell that property. And now here we stand, November 2024, where we are really wrapped up. We are paying the last retainage amount in a couple of weeks and really closed out there. So we'll get into costs. Originally, the property was sold for $2.36, which was the budget of that project. It did get amended through many conversations and processes up to $6.5 million. There is some grant funding that's recently come through as well on that one, a Policy 29 grant that we've just received, and some negotiations with 4 Points that happened during the leaseback agreement. And ultimately, we now have a savings on that overall project of over $1 million is where kind of our final numbers are landing. Capital costs to date, you can see there in the middle column, $5.5 million, and we are tracking just above the $1 million mark in savings. So our charge was to build a new transportation and maintenance facility to replace the old bus barn, and we did complete that May 2024. There is a new site and building adjacent to the new Carlson Elementary School. So thank you for listening and reminiscing over the last 3 years. Do you have any questions?
Thank you for your great work. I see the good improvements in all of the facilities. It's nice. They're old buildings that feel fresh and new and on time and on budget is awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rachel.
I think if I can just add one thing before you get off the seat there, I think the next thing that the district probably needs to talk about is what's next. And I think that's something that we'll be talking about in the upcoming weeks, months, years, whatever the case is. But I think we've talked about a long range planning team that way, but also I think it would be a good idea, to start talking about the assessments we had done that Mike Moody and his group had completed and updating those again and adding in the new Carlson, TMF that aren't on there, and just updating things to see where are we at with facility needs and looking at them, because we have all kinds of needs yet. You've seen some of those lists in the past. So we'll be talking more about that too, but just kind of keeping that in mind as we kind of continue to move forward. Anything to add to that, or Aaron, I guess, but I think we have to keep that in mind. You can't just be stable where we're at. I guess is my ultimate point.
I would add that as much as we've completed over the 3 years, facilities are a life cycle. They'll continue to age. There continue to be needs every day, and that is in a plan. It's a plan that that is dynamic, like you said, that needs to be updated, and I think there'll be more discussion about that.
Just a little bit to add to Tom, our last assessment was done in 2022, so that's pushing 3 years ago now. And now's the time to relook at that assessment and build off of that assessment. Look at what our facilities needs are currently.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome, Simon.
Sunny's here to present about student learning data that way, and I think
Yeah.
you've seen that too, but
Yeah.
so she will go through that and I may interject some things into it.
And you guys have all seen the slides already, so we'll just kind of go through and talk about what we are seeing and kind of what our plans are. So we're going to look at achievement data from CMAS, our beginning of the year NWEA data, and then our LEAP survey data. And then I just put a bullet up there. Just remember that when you're looking at data like this, it's just a snapshot. It doesn't tell us the whole picture of where our students truly are. There's also a lot of other data that we collect called street data to really know where our students are. This is just a quick snapshot, okay? So when we look at our CMAS data I went ahead and looked at the last 3 years. CMAS past 2019 was in that 2022, 21 year, there was a lot of different things going on with the pandemic. And so we weren't taking CMAS in the same way that we are back to taking it. So that data is just a little skewed. So I left that out. So that's why there's a gap between 2019 and 2023. And so when you're looking at CMAS data, you kind of want to look, we like to look at our data compared to the state's data. So the state will take an average. This is the percent of students who meet or exceed the expectations on the CMAS data. And so if you look at this chart, our data shows up in the yellow and in the orange, and then the state data shows up in the 2 blue colors. Okay, so you can see we're not quite staying at the state data level. We would like to see our lines matching up with the state level. But that's okay. We're behind when you look at it, but it's not, again, it's one snapshot. Remember, CMAS is one test that our kids take for 3 days. And it can be, sometimes the data, especially in small school districts, can be skewed by the number of students taking the test also. So we have to remember that too.
I mentioned the grades of CMAS at all.
Oh yeah, so the CMAS tests our students from grades 3 through 8. And then after 8th grade, we start using the PSAT and SAT data for looking at state data. Okay. So although you look at that and you can see we're below kind of the state average, when the state takes the CMAS scores, then they also give us what's called a school rating. And currently all of our schools are on performance, which is great. It's where we would like to be, except for our middle school, which is where we're going to be kind of working towards some improvements. So for when we think about what are we going to do for middle school, one of the things we are doing right now is we're applying for a grant through CDE called the EASY Grant, which will hopefully, if we do receive that funding, will help with kind of a redesign and a lot of new things for our middle school to really focus in on our middle school. We would look at getting curriculum and reading. We just got new math curriculum this year, so we'll keep using that. It's called Eureka Math Squared, and we're using that with 7th and 8th grade. It's also being used from kindergarten through 5th. So it's continuing, it's bringing that cohesion between that elementary and into the middle school. And then one of our next steps is we're going to look at the ELA curriculum that's currently being used at our elementary level and looking at what that looks like at the 7th and 8th grade level for the middle school also.
Just to confirm, is sixth grade not using this curriculum?
Yeah, it's sixth grade,
Okay,
sorry.
just-
I always think of sixth grade as middle school, but they're in the elementary. Yeah, so all our elementary students are using it.
Clarification.
Yeah, thank
I
you.
was thinking sixth
All our
grade.
elementaries are using it. And our middle schools are all using the same math curriculum now, so all the way through eighth grade. And then we're looking at moving that same process with our ELA this year. So we're going to start piloting. We've purchased the curriculum so that the ELA teacher can start looking at it and using it this year. And then we'll be, hopefully, if it works, we'll be rolling into that for next year.
If I can just add,
Yeah.
I really think that cohesion between elementary, common and middle school is something that we haven't done. It's
Yeah.
always fall, but just looking at that aspect of that connection, I know some.
And that continuation.
Yeah.
So they're used to that instruction. So then continuing with that when they make it into middle school and bringing in the two groups and knowing that they've had the same curriculum, I think can really help make a difference. So obviously with new curriculum, it does take a while before you start seeing results from it. So we do have to give it some time. We can't expect to have results overnight. Another thing we also did was this year, we have implemented a new MTSS program throughout the district. So from elementary school all the way up to middle school. And that's something that I've been working on with all three schools to kind of help get rolling. We've created some new forms and some new processes so that we're all kind of monitoring our students in the same way all the way through from, and even into high school if needed. But yeah, so that's some of the things that we are starting to do to hopefully see some change. Right. So then I'm not going to really go over these step by step. These are just broken up by grade level. And when it's broken up by grade level, this is all third graders in the district. So it includes Georgetown, King Murphy, and Carlson students. So you can look at it as like a whole third grade. So again, when you look at them broken up by grade level, you can see some years we are getting really close to that state average, which is great. That's what we want to see. And this one is fourth grade. And then our fifth grade. And our sixth grade again. It just from year to year. And one thing when you're looking at these, also remember this is not the same group of kids for 3 years. This is sixth grade students every year. So if you wanted to compare like kind of apples to apples, you would have to look back and say, okay, this is the 2019 group, the 2020, well, it wouldn't be 2023 because it'd be 2 years later, but you have to look at it like that. Like if you want to look at the same group of kids and how are they performing across the board. And the data for CMAS will get better because we are now consistent again with how we give CMAS across the state. So our data will be a little easier to compare. We won't have that big gap anymore. All right, so then, and if you want to dive into those deeper, you're welcome to. They're on there. You can look at them. If you have any questions, you can always ask me later. This is our NWEA. So NWEA is a benchmark assessment. So we use this to kind of see our students' growth throughout the year. And this is a norm referenced test. It's used all over. It's designed for K through 12 to assess in math, reading, and language usage. It also has a science component that we don't use. We use it for first grade through 10th grade. And the teachers use this to help like guide grouping, instruction. There's a lot of wonderful reports that we can use. We can also use this to kind of get an idea about how our students are going to perform on CMAS when it comes time for CMAS. So we do this at the very beginning of the year. We'll do it again in January, and then we'll do it at the end of the year so that we can really see our students' growth as we go. And this, oof, there's a little fly in here, like right in front of my face.
Us too.
They're so tiny. This looks at it, this doesn't look at like meets and exceeds because that's just not how it's rated when they look at NWEA. They look at the percentile rank. So this gives you a median percentile rank about where our kids are.
That's a national rank.
It's a nationally ranked test. So it's comparing students from all across the nation who are using this assessment guide in this grade level at the same time, like during the fall. And then it might look a little different in the winter. Your percentiles are going to look different because there's a different expectation for your students by winter of where they should be when they're taking this test. I think that's it for that one. Here's our PSAT data. They changed how they kind of rate PSATs. So the last 2 years, they've done meets and exceeds, just like CMAS. But prior to that, they had a different rating system. And so I decided not to put it on there because it's not really apples to apples. I didn't think that it showed the same data that these 2 years showed. So that's why I only have 2 years of PSAT and SAT data up here. And I broke it up by year because there's so many different grades that are taking this test. So you have your 9th grade, and they're different tests for each grade. So just so you know, like the PSAT 9 is different than the PSAT 10. And so you can't put them together when you look at the results of it, like you can with CMAS. And so this just kind of shows, again, it's comparing us to the state over the last 2 years. And again, we're kind of below the state in some areas. There's a couple of places that we are above the state, which is great, like our SAT reading and writing. Those are our 11th graders from last year. That's wonderful to see that we're scoring 69% of our students are met and exceeded the expectations. So I think this data is great. Like, it's good to see some of these things going on. Then we're going to move into LEAPS. So LEAPS is a survey that we give to our students to really find out more about climate and culture in the school. And this is just an overview. This is all of the students. They did this K-12 this year through the school. And so you can see, if you look over on the, well, I don't know which way you want to look, but if you look over where it says N equals, that's the N size. That's how many students answered questions within these categories. So some of them are lower because it was just like a middle school, high school question. The elementary kids didn't get asked questions in that area. So that's why the N size changes based on the different categories. So these are all the different categories that we asked questions about. So the high expectations, customization, affirmation. I'm going to go to the next one because it kind of explains each of these. So these are the 11 LEAPs that there are, the 11 different categories, and each one has a set of questions. So originally when Clear Creek started working kind of with a redesign for the district, they chose 5 areas that they really wanted to focus on. And so although we question the kids on all 11 areas, there's 5 areas that we really look at deeper. And so at Clear Creek, they decided that the 5 areas that they were really going to dive into was rigorous learning, relevancy, connection and community, customization, and active self-direction. So we're going to look at those questions kind of individually. So this one is rigorous learning. And so these are the types of questions, and it says ... because it kind of starts with, at school, we use our thinking skills rather than just memorizing things. And so you can kind of see, and the N sizes are a little bit different, again, because maybe all the kids, if it's up in the 336, that means everyone had that question. If it's in the 200s, that means there was one group that didn't see that question. So it might've been our elementary students didn't see a question in that question series. And so with rigorous learning, it's really, we're asking our kids to use our critical thinking skills to kind of think deeper when they're learning, to come up with complex ideas, to analyze and apply their knowledge to what they're learning. So really it's questions about, like, how do the kids feel about how they're learning? Are they being challenged in their learning? So that's what this question series was about. The next one was relevancy. So relevancy is really, can students relate what they're learning to their lives, to the real world? And so this area, you can see we're kind of low. This is definitely probably a trickier part of learning. And I just went to a convening with middle schoolers. We took a group of middle schoolers and high schoolers. And one of the things they said about relevancy is they want to learn through activities that teach them how they would use this in the real world, instead of just being told, like, this is when you would use this, when you become a doctor, or you would use this if you were doing construction. They want to actually do a project where they have to figure it out. And that helps them to relate more with how those learning skills would be something they would use in their future. So it's something to think about as we move forward. I found it to be a really great insight from the students. Some of the things that we're already doing to kind of bring relevancy into their learning is we started a new curriculum for our high school math that covers algebra, algebra 2, and geometry called Pathways to Careers. And this curriculum actually links the math skills to specific careers and allows the kids to have the opportunity to kind of learn about careers as they're learning their math. So that was one thing that we've done to try to bring relevancy in. We're also using problem-based learning at the middle school, high school level to bring in some more project-based learning where they get to actually see how they can create things that go with what they're learning. And then at the elementary, they're doing a lot of experimental learning experiences for the students to really bring that relevancy in. So we've already got a lot of great things in place at Clear Creek to bring in that relevancy. And I think if we just keep doing that, we're hoping those numbers will start going up and our kids will see that relevancy. All right, the next one is connection and community. So this one is really about really knowing and building that respect with their peers, collaborating, really seeing how you are connected and feel about the people. So the two things they're really working on here is at the elementary, they're doing a program called Crew, where they're working with all of their elementary students and they're getting to know each other better. They're bringing in that. At the high school level, and middle school level, they've added in Connect class, where the Connect teacher stays with the students as they move from grade to grade. And they do a lot of kind of community building within their group of Connect kids that they have.
Sunny, so some of these scores obviously are a little bit lower in certain areas, you know, like in the relevancy area.
Yeah.
I'm just curious, so some of these questions, like relevancy wise, I feel are more pertinent to high school students, like talking about current events. So I'm curious, is this data available where you separate elementary school out? Because clearly
Yes,
it's larger.
and we can. So we can look at it by school.
Okay.
Also, I just pulled it up by district to show today, but yes.
About
So we have a dashboard and we can
high school
choose.
students feel
Yeah.
like current events.
Well, and you know, a lot of these too at the elementary level kind of need to be explained, right? So that they understand what they're being asked. And that was one of the things that the teachers worked on this round with them. And as we continue with the LEAP survey, we'll continue with kind of helping the students to understand what the questions are asking. Because, you know, they might not understand what I'm learning matters to me. That a kindergartner might not have context in that yet, but to talk through that with them and help them understand what their question is asking them would be very helpful for them. So that is definitely something we're going to look at. This is the first time we've given the LEAP survey to all of the students. Last year, they gave it to just a small group to just start the process of seeing kind of what the results were. All right, so customization.
If I can just add something.
Yeah, jump in.
You know, we talked about relevancy being well, that kind of,
Yeah,
it kind of struck us.
it did strike us when we first saw the
High school
results
too. You know, it's low overall.
overall through the
You know,
district.
We looked at it that way, and that's a concern. I think that's being addressed somewhat. I
Yeah,
think we're trying to address that in the EASY grant as well to improve things for middle school, high school too. But it was still low there too. It wasn't like the elementary brought those numbers.
up or down.
Yeah.
Right.
It's roughly across the board.
It's across the board. Customization is really about that focus on, you know, teaching students where they're at and differentiating what you're teaching to meet the needs of each of your students in your classroom. So, you know, it's questions like, I have the resources I need to support my learning. I was really happy to see that a lot of our kids are feeling like they are getting what they need when they're in the classroom. You know, I do work that meets me where I am in my learning. I'm able to catch up if I'm behind. Those are all good things. And to see that we're, you know, close to the 60% of our students feel that way is great. Active self-direction. So this is helping our students become active drivers of their learning. So this really kind of goes into that experimental learning and that problem-based learning or project-based learning, where the students really kind of have voice. Maybe they have voice or choice in how that they're presenting or how they're sharing their knowledge back. It's really giving them that ability to kind of lead themselves while they're in their learning, to discover. So this one, we're in the middle, we're kind of low at the end. I choose how to do my work, not really make kids feel like they're getting that, So a lot of this data just kind of gives us data and information on what are our next steps? How can we continue to grow? Clear Creek has done a lot of amazing things over the last few years with instruction, with designing their learner profile. I mean, I'll be honest, when I came in, I was blown away and amazed and what a great mission and where Clear Creek is now. It's just wonderful to be a part of this. And I think it's really exciting to see where we're at and know where we can go from here with so much that's already been done to support our students here. Yeah, so that's what I have for you guys. I just, a little data dive. Do you guys have any questions? Oh man, I had listed all these questions so I had to make sure I had answers for them and no one has questions. That's okay.
Thank you so much.
But yes, like I said, I think Clear Creek is in a really good place right now, and it's really exciting to be a part of it. I'm glad that I was hired here and that I get to keep moving forward with this journey with Clear Creek, because I feel like you guys are in a really good place already. Mhm.
Yeah.
I want to welcome our student representatives. So I don't know what you talked with them about.
I think what they're going to talk about in March is their prep as well on the board, but you're going to give just a look. What I talked about yesterday that was on the phone because I had other issues, but just a short presentation, not presentation, just an update. We talked about we don't need slides from you and things like that. Just a brief update of what's going on.
So I went around and I talked to a few students. I went to NHS and we just kind of talked to them about they brought up some issues going on with computers and stuff like that. But they also, the biggest thing was they were talking about next school year, and I don't really know if it's relevant now, but they were talking about how a bunch of students would rather not have the rolling block schedule, and they had heard that from Miss Wheeler and stuff like that was going to happen. So I don't know if it's really relevant, but that is just what I've heard from the students about next year, that they would prefer the non-rolling block schedule.
You said students would prefer not to have the rolling block.
Yeah, just 7-period day, one time.
And I think that's kind of the conversation that Ms. Wheeler is starting up, and she'll probably be talking to you soon. We're just having some student conversations. Sorry to interrupt you, but it was a question I thought I'm gonna answer that, so go ahead.
Okay, so just some positives on so I feel that recently Clear Creek has really improved in how students can be involved in clubs. I know our Interact Club has been growing this year, and we're being able to host a lot more events. We did a clothes drive recently, and we're just this week we received so many pie orders. I don't know if we're gonna be able to even do them all. So that's good. And as well as DECA was founded this year, and today we actually went to our very first competition, and that was great. So I know that students at least have the chance to be more involved in clubs, and that clubs have been seeing some increased membership and being able to do more fun events and things like that.
And then I was just gonna share some events coming up. So the class of 2026, we have a bingo fundraiser on Saturdays from 5 to 8, and there'll be tacos there and everything. So if somebody can help us get the word out, that would be amazing. And there's a basketball scrimmage coming up. So basketball season is starting to come. And I know that student government is gonna be helping out a lot with doing this 50 or a raffle or something. We're still sorting out some of the things about it, but we're trying to get it together. But yeah, just some things coming up. I think also since we talked with Ms. Cassidy, we've actually had a lot more community involvement. I know, especially at football games, I feel like we've had more community there, and we're hoping that the bingo and the basketball games will have a lot of community involvement there too.
One last thing on the just like student data that we got. Even though the relevancy was pretty low at times, like I think the school is at least trying to do something about it. Like I know we have our rec and tech class this year that allows students to look into their interests in like building skis and snowboards, which obviously is something that might be relevant to kids who might not find a traditional subject like English or math relevant. And we've also expanded like our entrepreneurship class to give students who might be interested in that might find that more relevant. So the school is at least making efforts in terms of the classes being offered to give students options that they might find relevant.
So Kelly's got a question.
Asher, what's DECO?
DECA is like a business-based club that basically it encompasses like a bunch of things in the business world, from like entrepreneurship to finances to like there was a bunch of events that I didn't even know were available that were at like the event we went to today, like things in hospitality and like sports like management things. So it's really just like a club that has a bunch of different focuses within business.
And we also compete against all like the big JETCO schools. So like we go up against like Evergreen, Columbine, all of them.
What does it stand for?
That's a good question.
I don't know.
I don't actually know what it stands for. I know we do, but I could not tell you what it stands for.
What does a competition?
Distributed Education Clubs of America.
There you go.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Yes.
So our competition today was like, I was in the entrepreneurship section. So we were given like a business prompt, and we had like 10 minutes to prepare with our partner to come up with like why we would support the addition of like a new marketing strategy for a business or adding like new products to a business. And then we have to like pitch it to a judge who's like acting as like an investor. So it's really just like role playing what a pitch to an investor would look like.
Thank you.
How'd you do?
I did not win, but I'll let you know. I'm finding out my results tonight. Apparently, she wouldn't let us see us immediately she wouldn't let us see the results immediately after the competition. I guess there's a rule for it or something. So I will find out. But I thought, even though my first one was kind of sketch because I'd never done it before, I was kind of nervous. But I think the second one went really well. So I think I did pretty okay.
And then you did like individual and partners. So like I was partners with this kid named Seth, and he was partners with me. So it was pretty neat.
Thank you.
I'd like to invite.
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm Rachel Richardson, president of our Education Association here in Clear Creek County. Thanks for the opportunity to give you an update. We've appreciated our meetings with Dr. Meyer the last couple of months to share issues that educators are having, concerns, roadblocks, and also to build some rapport with him. We're grateful that our voices are welcomed by him. Let's see. We're excited that Colorado rejected Amendment 80, and we're proud to announce that over 95% of Colorado Education Association members voted this year. A little celebration there. I will quickly share some association concerns, values, and our priorities. The future for public education looks extremely uncertain. School funding looks grim this year. Enrollment continues to decline across our state. Many students who live in Clear Creek, as Tom said, are opting to attend Jeffco or find their education elsewhere outside of Clear Creek, and the exodus of educators from the profession continues. CCCEA is aware that neighboring districts like Denver and Jeffco are navigating these problems by overhauling their budgets, closing schools, and spending down their reserves to keep their doors open while offering reasonable COLAs to their educators. The association values providing a stable learning environment for all of our students. We value living in the community where we work. Some of us are able to afford that, probably about a half and half. Half of us come up here from down the hill. Finally, the association seeks alignment of priorities with the board, with the district. We believe the path to providing a stable learning environment to our students is by stopping or at least slowing down teacher turnover and by paying educators a competitive salary or wage. Thank you. Or questions, yes,
A
questions.
couple of questions.
Sure.
I think as I look at your note and recognizing, the challenges that we have, that our state has, and how districts are looking at that, when I look at, the things that you've outlined that Denver schools are doing and Jeffco schools are doing, we're doing all of those things without closing schools. So I'm asking if the association is recommending that we look at closing schools.
Heavens, no, I would not. If I recommended that, I would have told you that.
I just want to make that clarifying, because we have overhauled our budgets. We are spending down our reserves. We are providing COLAs. We have not to date had a discussion around, nor are we considering closing schools, but that is certainly in there and jumped out at me. And I
Right.
wanted to clarify if that was a recommendation you were making.
Okay, fair enough. Yep. My intent with that statement, Kelly, is recognizing how schools around us are coping. Just a recognition of it. Yeah, to even kind of be asked that question, that the association would recommend closing our schools, seems a little odd to
Well, it
me.
seemed odd when I read it too, so glad
Okay.
I could clarify.
All righty, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Any other questions? All right.
Thank you so much.
Mhm.
I don't see any Jack representatives. Nor Cat. Recognitions and celebrations.
Recognition and celebrations, the cross-country football teams, every year, the drama production, Night with Shakespeare was held last weekend. Good turnouts there. I'll get into some other thing I was gonna say with that. I had a problem with running on ice and I didn't quite make it. That's another story. Middle school, high school students were in attendance. I think Sunny talked about this, the Youth Connections, supporting mental health and well-being, at the Junior Achievement Building in Greenwood Village. I was actually there this summer. It's an amazing place. We haven't been there yet. I really think we need to get our students there and experience kind of a life and what things are. So it was I found it used. I didn't go to this, but I was there earlier. Community partnership, we're working with the city on the, mural at the former Carlson Elementary. They're working that way. I could get another slide there too, possibly. Upcoming concerts, check out it's in the board notes, it's in the weekly nugget. Just the students exhibiting their learning, being involved, I think that's really important. That's their way, in math or social studies, you get a grade and things like that based on a test. Well, kind of going out there and performing is how you show off, how you demonstrate your learning. Talked about that before. We want to demonstrate learning and things like that, apply learning. That's application of learning when you start getting into the fun out. So let's recognize that. Becca McCarthy was named Coach of the Year for boys cross country recently. And a district calendar in the board notes this week, I will have a link for you on a district calendar. It's in the process. From my understanding, it has everything in there for this upcoming winter season except for middle school. And maybe that's in there now. It wasn't in there this morning. Ski team is on there as much as we can right now with locations and addresses. But if you go to that, you'll see it. Click on the link, and I have some notes in the board notes for you about how to get to different areas. I think it's easy to navigate. It has addresses in there. We will release it on our website probably either next week or when we come back from Thanksgiving. I just want it to be complete before we throw it out there. Well, something's missing on it. It is just middle school, high school right now. We will get elementary added to that in the upcoming weeks. That's my plan for concerts and things like that. It'll be a one-stop shop to go there and get most things. Now some specific building things, they may just have, to the building, but this is district calendar. So it can help buildings plan for, I'm planning an event tonight at the high school or the middle school, but there's also an event planned at Carlson Elementary or King Murphy, and I have kids at King Murphy and I have kids here. How can I attend both? Hopefully to help with that communication as well. So that's a positive. Hopefully it's called Our School, has a logo on it and things like that. I shared with Marcy and Jessica in the past that one. So hopefully it'll work well. There'll be some hiccups along the way, just so you know that, but it's a start for us. So that's what I had.
I want to just say that it's awesome.
Good. Well, I don't know if it's awesome, but
For me, it is. I'm kind of sad that I only get to have like a couple more months, with my kid involved in stuff. This would have been so great in the past, but I'm looking forward to the future for the students and the parents that get to use it, because it's very intuitive and you can see everything that, overlaps, and I appreciate the work on it.
Yeah, and Angie has been doing a lot of the work at the middle school, high school that way, and putting information in, along working with Brian that way. So
Days of input.
it's been good.
Yeah.
It'll be easier after 1 year or two for.
It was much needed.
Yeah, so it's good. Hopefully it'll work.
Thank you. Any general public comment?
No public comment.
We don't have any board business. Move anything forward in the study session. So into policy work. I think you guys have seen most of those. So if there is anything that, as we talk through it, you would like to share any input that you've received from other students, we would certainly be open to hearing that before we. So policies on second read are the ones that we will be doing our final vote to publicize them if they get published in that format. The first reads are that first draft saying, public, take a look, give us some feedback. So.
I would move that we approve policy JICDE, bullying prevention and education.
I'll second.
All right, Flanagan,
Yes?
Haig,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
McHugh,
Yes.
North.
I would also, and that policy, just for the record, is bullying prevention and education. In the associated document that I'm recommending approval is the investigation form. So with that, I recommend approval of JICDE-E-2.
Second?
Flanagan,
Yes.
Haig,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
McHugh,
Yes.
North.
Yes.
Moving along, I would recommend that the board and move to approve policy JLCE, first aid and emergency medical care.
I'll second.
Flanagan,
Yes?
Haig,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
McHugh, North.
Yes.
I would also move to approve policy KDE, crisis management.
I'll second.
Flanagan,
Yes?
Haig,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
McHugh,
Yes.
North.
Yes. Policies on first read. So we do have some public feedback, you can see that in the magenta and orange for some of the work that we did in our study session.
Tom, I want to thank you for the adjustments that you made on the, on policy JIH to really pull out what we, after we had talked at our study session. I'm very comfortable with that language and appreciate it. And with that, I would move to approve policy JIH, student interrogations on first read.
Second. Any discussion? Seeing none?
Flanagan,
Yes?
Hay,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
McHugh,
Yes.
North.
Yes.
Before I move on this one, I think we didn't have student representatives at our study session on this one, and this is one I'm very curious what the student body's perspective is on dress code. Wondering if you guys could provide any insight on that.
So this is like dress code of like things that are deemed inappropriate at school, correct?
So we've made some changes to kind of help you. So some of the wording and phrasing made it difficult for any of our students of color perhaps to wear their hair in a natural way.
Oh,
So
I do remember
we
that.
want to make sure that this policy is very inclusive.
Mhm.
There
And
was also, oh, go ahead.
Sorry.
No,
Was hair coloring included? I remember seeing that on one of the first drafts.
yes, so it has been qualified to say, you know, that the hair coloring would perhaps have an offensive design to it, so
Mhm.
I think, yeah, that
Okay.
coloring would have a design that lists.
I guess,
some type of-
yeah, I guess I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
It's fine to have red hair,
Okay,
okay? But you couldn't have a swastika point maybe.
Yeah,
If that makes.
yeah,
That's a-
okay,
yeah.
that's.
That's a really, that's a really like
Okay,
brutal
that's fine.
example.
I was
So
making
whether
sure
it's
what-
cut in or colored in, that would be.
Okay, that makes sense, that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Hair color's not a
Yeah,
problem.
And I think the-
just coloring the hair is a little.
Yes.
The other things that we did, I think, were made this a little more gender neutral. Like it felt very originally kind of targeted at our female students. So I'm very pleased to see that we made those adjustments on that front too, so that this is less of a targeted policy and more of a holistic looking at everyone policy.
Yeah, that's definitely good. Be more inclusive.
Well, with that, I would like to recommend that we approve on first read policy JICA, the student dress code.
I'll second. All right, Flanagan,
Yes.
Hay,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
McHugh,
Yes.
Yes.
I'd like to move to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Flanagan,
Yes?
Hay, yes, King,
Yes.
McHugh,
Yes.
North.
Yes. Say, under future agenda items, I would just like to, again, invite, if there's another board member that would like to assist with.
I think I was gonna do it for December. Is that right?
Yeah, I just wanted to make it kind of a formal process where we said it out loud, so.
How does that work? Like, do we get together or do we have a phone call or how?
Yep, we'll have Lori will help us with calendaring.
Okay.
Say, right now, we're looking at perhaps Monday morning, but we'll talk with you about that and see if that will work. Otherwise, just kind of a crunch time with the holiday in there. So,
Yeah.
we try to get that done so that we have several weeks before the next meeting. So, any other future agenda items? All
I
right,
move to adjourn.
I'll second.
Flanagan,
Yes?
yes, King,
Yes.
McHugh,
Yes.
North.
yes.
It's nice to hear your voice again.
Good night, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So where was the DECA competition?
It was.
Douglas County Fairgrounds.
So I want to hear it. Hear her ask the question. How'd you feel?